Well, hello, this is Deborah Johnson with the Power of After Show, and we are all about helping you answer what's next, maximizing skills, resources, experiences, and that's we're approaching a topic today that will help you do some of that. And it's all about turning data into decisions. And Greg will be joining me because in today's data-driven world, successful organizations and businesses, they don't just collect information, they use it to make smarter and more impactful decisions. Well, how can we do that? Well, whether you're running a business or planning an event or you're curating a museum, the difference between like guesswork and insight that often comes down to how you interpret numbers and data. So one fascinating lens for exploring this is the way some cultural institutions, and we visited some of these, so we're going to approach those just briefly today. The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, and then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, and all how they use data about visitor behavior to plan their exhibits and design their layouts and really create unforgettable experiences. And so we draw some insightful business takeaways from those evaluation of some of those plans and the layouts. And I think you'll find it maybe some interesting and insightful. So join us, and here we go. This podcast is brought to you by DJ Works Media and HalftimeSuccess.com, offering resources and insights for those at mid-career or the halftime of life. Explore our diverse categories, including courses, coaching, health, music, software, and travel. We're here to help you make this stage of life your best ever. So get our new articles, downloads, and podcasts by signing up for weekly updates at goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Okay, hello. This is Greg is with me today.
Hi, everybody.
And it's really a nice topic. I wanted Greg with me today because a couple of these data illustrations were from sports halls of fame and that we were able to go to together. And I felt like his insight would add quite a bit to our discussion. So thank you for it.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah. Well, so we're talking really about the impact of data, and I've never been one too much that just loves numbers and loves data, but it's more important now than ever especially with AI, and you can have all of these figures so fast, and you can use it quite a bit. So what really spurred this on was the comment from Justin, how did you say his last name? Leinart, okay. This is from the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. So It has a number.
In Oklahoma City.
Yes, in Oklahoma City. And he had mentioned that he used to work at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And we've been to two Halls of Fame in Oklahoma, the other one in Ohio, in Cleveland and Canton. So anyway, let's kind of start with that one, with the Oklahoma Sports, and with his comment and what you remember from that. When he said.
Well, we were visiting Oklahoma City, and I had played minor league baseball there, 40, 50 years ago. And it's really grown up into a nice little downtown. They've done a lot of wonderful things. And I forgot why we were walking around. I think we were killing time for something. And we had an hour, and we'd gotten coffee, and the Sports Hall of Fame is right next to the minor league baseball field there, which had been moved. It's not where I played, but so we went in, and it was laid out great, and it kind of told the story of Oklahoma from the sports standpoint, just players that had played in the 30s, the Dust Bowls, and then how things developed in the 40s, and football became more of an interest, and track and field, and then on to baseball, and finally basketball picked up somewhere in there. all great wrestling state, produced a lot of great wrestlers, including one of my friends from high school. But we were kind of finishing up our tour, and one of the docents came up and asked us how we liked it, and I commented on how much better it was laid out and a nice story it told than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. And that just started a conversation because he had actually learned the museum business by working at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And he was, I think, a pretty good amateur guitarist, played in his own garage bands. And so had an affinity for music. And out of one side of his mouth, he was defending kind of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because he was a musician at heart, and him and Deb had that thing going in common. But in the other hand, he brought up how they had used AI to really measure the data and what got people to stop at certain places, at certain collections. And they had really researched all of this, and it changed the way they laid out and went about telling the story of Oklahoma through the Sports Hall of Fame. So that got Deb thinking, isn't that interesting? And all three of us kind of go, imagine if they did that with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, in contrast, is just a collection of amazing pieces of music history. But there's no story that's being told. They're just kind of exploded wherever they could cram it. It was kind of like your grandmother's collection of antiques, wherever they could cram it in their living room, it kind of ended up. And that's a little bit of the feel, from our standpoint of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So that three-way conversation about, because we had all experienced it, and he had worked there, and he had brought input from that experience into this one, led to a discussion about how AI provides feedback and can help you tell whatever story you want to tell.
Yeah. And the data of that, and I mean, he specifically said how they studied that layout and to be able to put that together. And I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's wonderful, but it was almost, to me, as a creative, it was one of the points and takeaways I really took from this was that we want to put everything in. And it's the same as a creative wants to write a book, write a song, write a musical. You have to figure out what to take out and how to simplify it and make sure your message is extremely clear. And it's very, very, very hard to do that. And with rock and roll, there's so much. I mean, you're looking at costumes, there's music everywhere, there's video everywhere. And it's amazing, but it was just the overwhelmingness. Okay. So how many stories there were, because there was so much there.
Right. And, as I've watched Deb create over the decades, it's interesting how the cutting process is so vital. Whether you're, if you've created a musical piece, most really good musicians put in too many notes, and then they have to figure out a way to whittle out the notes. If Deb's writing a musical, she writes, 10 more songs than there needs to be, and trying to decide which ones don't move the story forward. It's just emotionally draining for her. If you write a novel, again, a novel can quickly go down a rabbit trail that doesn't really help the story go along. So again, the metaphor of your grandmother's living room with all of the stuff that you just can't throw away, stuffed in there, is can be true for a website. It can be true for your business. It can be true for a museum.
And I'm just doing some more reevaluation on my website and my first pages because and AI helps so much with this.
Right.
If you have not done that, take advantage of that. When you were mentioning musicals, of course, I've had, in producing my musicals, I've had to cut songs. It's painful.
Oh, yeah. I've
It's,
watched you go through the pain.
And with one of the most beautiful and wonderful Rodgers and Hammersley, My Fair Lady, that musical,
Yep.
they wrote 80 songs for that.
Wow.
My Fair Lady, 80 songs. And how many songs did they cut? Lots of songs.
I wonder what happened to the other 60.
Yeah, they're out there somewhere. Sometimes they're repurposed. And of course, I've repurposed some of the songs I've written too. But it's painful to say, oh, I just love that song. I love the message, but is it moving the story forward?
Right.
But the same
and
thing.
Your point is that AI can help you figure out what data. So AI will first give you the data. And then through prompts, you can ask AI, what data helps move my story along?
My message.
And another way I did ask it is what story is distracting from my story, or what data is distracting from my story? So two different prompts.
What it'll do for me is it'll say it's too general. You're not being specific.
Will AI evaluate your website?
Yes.
Why don't you tell them that?
Yes. Well, what you can do is you can put your like your homepage. You can just put that on, but say what your main purpose is.
How do you put your homepage on AI? Do you just stick the URL in?
You put the URL in. But I put what my purpose was, first of all, of just helping people answer what's next by maximizing skills, resources, experience at this point at their life. And it went through the whole first page of my website. And I have different websites. I have a speaker website. How do I apply this towards speaking engagements? It was very specific that way. So my main goals for your life, it was telling me that, you're too general. You need to be a little more specific in your first opening statement. Above the fold, that's very important. If you have any questions on this.
Did I give you some suggestions?
Oh, laid it all out for me. Laid it all out. And you can always edit. It's up to you what you end up putting up. But I really liked it took my messaging that I already had and clarified it. Now, I do a lot of my own editing because I'm always tweaking. Okay. You can tweak. But it was so clear. The messaging was so clear because I had put in what's really important. And I talk about this a lot in my book about using AI. Basics of it, just to take away the fear of using AI. But your prompts are extremely important. You need to be able to ask AI the right questions. And I just use ChatGPT. You can have a basic account, free account. I have like the $20 a month account, which gets me more illustrations and other things. And that's usually what you want to step it up a little bit, just like that. And there are other sources as well. You use Grok, and there's Perplexity. There's a lot of other sources, and you can use a lot of different ones. So, but the important thing is the prompt and kind of listening to what that is telling you. Now, I can go with some other resources as well and see, okay, how long are they staying on this particular web page? How long, how many hits am I getting? You see this from social media. Now, that doesn't always mean everything of somebody liking a post. That's not going to, that's not always going to sell everything. But you can see how popular different videos are, even from different podcasts. I can tell which ones are cutting through a little bit more on the messaging, and which guests actually. Sometimes it's because the guest shares it, and so their audience starts clicking in, and I will get more people watching a certain video or a certain podcast. And that's, the way some people grow their podcasts. But I've been a little bit more organic, so you can see which topics people are a little bit more interested in.
Good.
Yeah. So when we went to, we did another Hall of Fame as well as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Really, it was like days after that we went to the Football Hall of Fame
in Canton.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I wanted to talk about that for a moment because it didn't tell really the history of Canton, it really told a lot more about football.
Right.
And what I was so impressed as a non-athlete and just coming from, the artistic area, and I loved, much of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I loved it, it was wonderful, but it was a little, even to me, it was like there was so much. I mean, you can't spend just one day there. It's just so much.
Right.
And especially with that many floors, it was just a lot. Uh, but when we walked into that football Hall of Fame, I remember coming out of there and saying, I can't believe how impressed I was, and how much I learned. And, with all of the video footage, the advantage is they had so much TV footage
Yeah.
from like way back. Good footage.
I'm sure there's good footage for the Rock and
Yes.
Roll Hall of
No,
Fame.
there is. Yeah.
And what was interesting is
Mhm.
Debbie's a musician, and we'd gone to the
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame first,
Mhm.
and knows nothing about football.
Really?
I know nothing about
Right.
music, but
Oh,
played
no, he
football
didn't.
in high school.
Yeah. You know more than
So,
I do. Yeah.
you would have thought that I would have been the one that was completely enthralled with the Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Debbie, uh,
Oh,
from the artist production standpoint, was
very.
really impressed
Yeah.
with the Football Hall of Fame, and
Was.
that was just a unique surprise.
Yeah.
That we both enjoyed it so much.
It was a surprise to me because I remember because they had places that I wasn't familiar with. I don't know which football player it was, but they had like a molding of how tall he was, and it just had like the size of his legs, and it was like that's the size of my waist, and I
Yeah,
was just
yeah, that was
it was
clever.
so with some of those displays, and it was just so well organized. So it wasn't stuff everywhere and lights blinking everywhere. It was that you can press this and watch that footage, and it was well organized and chronological.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It told the story. So
yeah.
the NFL started kind of around Canton,
Mhm.
and it was basically a bus league on Saturday and Sundays, and they'd drive from Canton to Cleveland to Detroit, over to Pittsburgh, sometimes up to Green Bay and Chicago. So it was that little grouping that
Mhm.
and it was a bus league. It was something for guys to do on the weekend, and they probably play for meal money, and um,
Mm.
so it told that story, and all of us can, that started when we were 18 or
Mhm.
20, and we were trying to figure out how to rub two nickels together, and a meal of cold pizza
Mm.
the next night was fantastic, and
Mm.
we can all relate to those kind of rugged, simple days, and it told a great story of how it evolved, got more
Mhm.
complicated.
Mhm.
Television gets introduced. It was really well done.
And this is why I really wanted you to join me on this podcast because you're filling in some of those blanks that I just really didn't even know. But yeah, just that sort of aspect. When you said I was more impressed because I didn't know as much of all of the history that you did,
Sure.
but the production I do know. And that's what I was super impressed with. And as we do some takeaways on this, um, I think the production, it's not always how much we cram into everything.
Right.
Cram into a website, cram into a video, cram. I'm so tempted to do that all the time,
Yeah.
but it's the simplicity of the messaging.
Yeah. And I think the simplicity, I think the message you wanted to get through was that AI can help you uh, clarify and
Mhm.
simplify,
Yes.
or simplify for the point of clarifying.
Yes. Yes.
And if you tell it what, impact, experience, emotion that you're trying to get out, and that's called
Hmm.
a prompt,
Right.
um, it'll evaluate and
Hmm.
give you feedback. It won't say yes or no. It'll
Right.
say, well, in this case, it did,
This. Yes.
but in this case, da, 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 da.
Hmm.
So, and then you can delve further.
Right.
So if, all of us can use feedback on how to get our message more to the point, with more impact.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Debbie wants you to get today,
Yeah.
is that through AI, just like the guy in Oklahoma City,
Yes.
he took his experience
Mhm.
and experience really matters. He
It
took his
does.
experience
Does.
from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and
Mhm.
he knew what questions to ask.
Yes. Yes.
And he knew what prompts and where
Mhm.
to explore and to
Mhm.
talk about why this worked and why is this not working.
Right.
If we tried this,
Mhm.
what would change?
Mhm.
If we eliminated this, how it would be, and the whole time AI is giving you input based on, it's viewed all of the museums in the world.
Right.
So it's giving you, uh, clarity from
Mhm.
vast amounts of experience.
Yeah. And he used a lot of his experience because actually when they were redoing that, the tools are growing. Okay. So at the very beginning, might not have even had all the tools today that he's
Oh,
got.
yeah,
Yeah. I
right.
mean, it was
Yeah.
at the basics. But using your experience and using what you have, your brain is the biggest generator of ideas, and but you can use that as a prompt to be able to get more ideas from using an AI tool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And
So yeah.
to go off with that just a little bit,
Mhm.
realize that you can feed AI all your competitors' information
Oh, wait, that's
and
true.
ask it to evaluate it.
Hmm.
And then using a prompt,
Hmm.
why do you think it's good?
Hmm.
And it'll give you a list of
Hmm.
4 or 5 things. You can ask it, what could they do to make it better?
Hmm. Yeah.
Then you can ask it,
Mm.
contrast this, website, these
Mhm.
marketing materials to my stuff.
Right.
And it'll compare, it'll
Mhm.
do that for you.
Yes.
So
Hmm.
you can use it in a dispassionate way to give
Right.
you, amazing feedback about your competitors.
Right. And what you really want to do is, okay, how are you different and how do you stand out and how
Or
can
am I different?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Am I different? Am I saying the same thing? Am I a clone?
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us want to be a
Am
clone.
I accidentally positioning myself to get lost in the clutter?
Yes, clutter. Oh, that's a great point. I like that. I like that phrase. So, well, couple takeaways then. I think we've just said those of just, you can use AI. This podcast is not entirely about AI, but it's using AI
Right.
with data and how that can help you make decisions. And I mean, even today, as we record this, I was working on reformatting the first page of couple of my websites because I wanted to up my game a little bit on some of my messaging,
Right.
and just to make sure it was extremely, extremely clear. And I hadn't done that too much of that since putting out this latest book, so it was very clear. And if you want to pursue that more, of course, I talk about it in my book, Power of After, but also StoryBrand, Donald Miller. Uh, be very, very clear. It's always about being clear, not just clever. So, and to use the data. And you can even gain that from, what I remember about going in the Oklahoma City one, why
Yeah.
we went in there
Why?
is because they had air conditioning.
Oh, it was hot and muggy.
Yeah, it was very hot and muggy, and it was nice. And I was pleasantly surprised at because they had the wrestling, they had the golf. I remember the golf too.
Yeah.
They had all the sports, and it was and it was a lot smaller, of course, than some of the other museums, but it was interesting, and the stadium was beautiful. So it was very nice. So anyway, thank you for being with me. Thank you all
Good
for
to see
joining
everybody.
us. Yes, thank you for joining us. And I bring Greg on with me, and for some of these, and a great pleasure to be here together, especially with topics like this. And it just adds some great insight. And of course, we help you answer what's next. Make sure you connect with us. Our website, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And you can reach us a lot of other places as well. Make sure you get our newest book, my newest book, Power of After, on Amazon, all versions right now. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll look forward to being with you then next time. So bye-bye for now. Thanks so much for spending time with me today. I love bringing you insights to help you maximize your skills, resources, and experience at mid-career and beyond. so that you can make your next chapter your most impactful and purposeful yet. I'm Deborah Johnson, and I can't wait to be with you again next time on the Power of After Show.